morning. Good morning. What a beautiful Tuesday morning. A little bit more nippy, but yesterday as well, the morning was nippy, and then the middle of the day was it got quite warm. I think it was over 20 degrees I saw, so not too bad. I think summer or spring at least is on its way, and looking forward to that. It's been a colder winter, this one, but at least we had like a week of cold, and then it was a bit not so cold for a little while, and then so it wasn't like uninterrupted, and so that's good. But yeah, good morning. Very welcome to Virtual Coffee with Francois. That's me. For those of you that's maybe here for the first time, this morning I have a fantastic, phenomenal, awesome, amazing guest. Her name is Bernadette, and I really look forward. Again, I always look forward to getting into conversations with my guests because they've got so much to share, and they've got inspiring stories and all sorts of stuff. So really excited to get into that. And so please join the conversation. I see there's a whole host of people already saying good morning. We've got Kobus, good morning Kobus, and Stephen Nell, good morning. Malcolm Hendricks, good morning. Denise, good morning. We've got Casper as well. Almin, good morning. Rizan, nice to have you here. Thank you for putting me in touch with Bernadette. I appreciate that. Good morning Renata. Welcome. I hope you enjoyed this one. I think you are definitely going to enjoy this one. Carol Lindsay, good morning, Carol. Thank you for being on the show yesterday. I appreciate it. Kuvendra, good morning. Brad, nice to have you with us. The first time I've seen you here, but good morning. I've seen you lots on LinkedIn, and I see that's where you're watching from as well. So enjoy. Nyiku, Anthony, good morning. Chart, good morning. Welcome back. Kuketsu, good morning once again. Nice to see you. I've got Louis Jooste, goeiemorgen Louis, welcome. Floyd, once again, good morning Floyd. I've got Jaco Roots, good morning Jaco, my maat hier in Kreersdorp. Arun, good morning. And Mark, all the way from Melbourne in Australia, good morning. Nice to have you back. It's been a while, so thank you very much for joining us live. I deeply appreciate it. All right, so just a very simple announcement this morning, and this is my guest for next week, not for next week, for Friday, this coming Friday at 3 p.m. I'm going to have Jay Naidu on the show, and Jay is really also a phenomenal lady that I used to work with at Liberty. She's got, some very inspiring and challenging thoughts, and it's going to be a different kind of conversation. I can promise you that. So that's something that you don't want to miss. This is really going to be a head-to-head almost. I want to say in a nice way, at least. So, but Jay is definitely also bringing a phenomenal message to us, and I really look forward. When I phoned her, and said, "Do you want to do this?" We had a long conversation. He said, "Yes, absolutely." So really, so she's had a fantastic corporate career. She left, and she's now farming. So even that alone, if that doesn't get you interested, nothing will. So please join us on Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. live with Jay. All right. Yes, so let me get into today's show. I'm so excited to talk to Bernadette. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Bernadette Rigney. Good morning, Bernadette. How are you?
Good morning, fine, thanks, and you?
Yeah, I just said, like, when we started, like, that's the most beautiful smile so early in the morning. I wish I could smile like that when the day starts. It usually takes me a while. So, yeah, but thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. Bernadette, yeah, so just maybe a quick introduction. Who is Bernadette? Where does your story start? So let's start there.
My name is Bernadette Rigney, and I have a disability called arthrogryposis. It limits the motion in my arms and in my legs. And I've been very fortunate. After I matriculated, I traveled the world. I worked in America for a year. So I kickstarted a very exciting career path. And then I came back to South Africa, and I worked in the cosmetic industry. So I love all things glamorous. And then I had the opportunity to work for government for 8 years. And it was in the infrastructure development sector. So I played a little part in accessibility when it comes to persons with disabilities. So quite an exciting role there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just thinking, so two things. So as you say, you love everything glamorous. That's why I had the shiny background on your thumbnail. So that's number one. Number two is, so if you love everything that's glamorous, why don't you go and work for government? That's an interesting move.
It was quite an interesting move. I think my sister got the advert in the newspaper, and she said, no, they're looking for a person with a disability, someone very sparkly. And I didn't know it was government until I got to the interview with this panel of very serious individuals. And one of the things that motivates me daily is to put myself in challenging experiences. So I thought, okay, the glamorous world is easy. That's like the fun side. So maybe I should do something more meaningful. And after 2 years that I was there doing my normal job, that's where I became a disability activist and just speaking out on, employment issues and just like every challenge that would come with the person with transportation, anything that affected the daily lives. And I felt that I could relate and resonate with the problems because I lived through it daily as well. So yeah, that's why I picked the job.
You see, they caught you with that. They didn't tell you that they were government. It was only afterwards. That's how they get you in. So beware. All right. So I mean, let's go back a little bit. I mean, growing up, you said you were born with this condition. Growing up with that, did you go to a normal school? Did you have to go to another kind of school? What was growing up like for you?
Yeah. So when I started school, I was in a mainstream school, and when I reached about standard one, the classrooms changed. They were upstairs and downstairs. So if there wasn't a really strong person on the premises on the day, I would miss out on a class. And my parents decided very reluctantly to send me to a school for persons with disabilities. My mom didn't want me to grow up feeling that I was different. And so it was quite a tough decision for them. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity because it was in Cape Town. And I realized I have this like dramatic excitement when it comes to the entertainment world. And, Cape Town's very theatrical. So that was part of my whole curriculum until standard 8. And then I came back to Johannesburg in standard 9 and 10 to complete school year, also with a school for persons with disabilities. But I never really allowed that to stop me from doing what I would have done if I was an able-bodied person. So growing up, I kept all the same friends, I'd done all the same things. So it was just this change of the school premises pretty much, but nothing affected me. I still stayed the same person and positive.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm just thinking, like growing up, I mean, initially, like if you go to a school, like a normal school, were you treated differently in the beginning? I mean, obviously we were very young. If you talk about standard 1, it means you and I were at school sort of at the same time because that was pre-grade 1 and 2 and 3 and all that kind of stuff. I was also in sub A, sub B, and in standard 1 and 2 and so forth. But was it difficult at such a young age, just being in a normal, or did you just completely disregard that at all?
I don't think I really noticed that I was disabled being in the mainstream school. It was only when I completed school, because when you're in school, you're very sheltered, and you have these amazing teachers that plan your day, and then you go home and do your homework and sleep. So when I completed school and I was pretty much on my own. I had to make my own means of getting from place to place, with public transport. I got family members to assist me now and then if I needed to go to meetings and interviews. So I think only when I was I completed matric when I was 17. So pretty much when I was 18, I realized, oh goodness, I'm not really normal, the able-bodied person. So there are a lot of barriers. I think I would have probably lived a completely different lifestyle if it wasn't for the disability. But I've tried to do everything that I always aspired to do, despite my limitations.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's funny like that, when it's almost like when for some people it's like school is this traumatic kind of experience, and it shapes the rest of their life, unfortunately. It's almost like you've had the opposite, and I wouldn't say that life was traumatic now after that. That's not what I'm saying, but just I mean that's when you realize like, well, what are your challenges? What is the
Yeah.
reality when you get out there? And then, okay, so after school, then what did you do as you got into adult life? Because did you also think at 18 you knew it all, and you're now an adult, like most of us did? Did you have the same view? And then, like, what was your journey after school?
Well, I promised my mom we'll just go traveling for maybe a year, and then I'll go and study law. So she still has a piece of paper that I signed way back in the 90s that, Mom, I promise I'll study law after my traveling experiences. And I think I got into the work routine and started earning a salary, and all of my friends were broke because they were in university. And I thought, oh, I'm going to continue living this lifestyle, and I'll enjoy working and just being very independent, but not realizing that later in life they'll be the ones driving the Ferraris and I'll be the average person.
Yeah, and so yeah, and then I mean, you said as you got back, because was it during this travel time that you went to America? I think you said you went to
Yeah.
America, and that was
Yeah.
were you in New York, or did you travel the entire America?
We lived in North Carolina, so about 3.5, 4 hours away from New York, but I love Miami. Miami was like the go-to place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was one of
So
the maybe
really
the most
fun.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So what was one of the most amazing experiences that you had there, and maybe a lesson that you learned while you were traveling? What was something that stood out for you? I know you realized a few things, and when you came back, you and we're going to talk about that in a second. But maybe what was the lesson that you learned during your travels or from your travels, be it in the USA, wherever you traveled? What was one big thing that you realized, like, oh, okay, this is like a light bulb that went on, maybe.
The standard of living and the technology available overseas is just, I don't think South Africa is quite there yet. And actually, in America, if you don't really put on your CV that you're a person with a disability, it's discriminating. So there are no barriers in America. You're just seen as a contributing member of society. And that was the nice thing. I think I would have felt sorry for myself had I not had that open experience to go and travel, because it really showed me how independent you can be with the right technology and having the right people behind you, and focusing on just being independent. So that was an eye opener for me, and I really cherish those moments.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it feels like sometimes you have these experiences, and you have them for the first time. They're really mind blowing, but if you go back and back and back, it's not the same as the first time. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing. So, all right. So, and then you said earlier that you love glamour and all of that. Back home, if I'm not mistaken, you got involved with the celebrities. So not got involved like in relationships, but you got involved like working with celebrities. So tell us a little bit. How did that happen? What was it like? What did you do for them? And yeah. So I would love to hear some of those stories.
So when I was in Cape Town, it was just normal, being on stage and people coming to you afterwards and telling you how phenomenal the team was or the concert was. So I took a lot of those elements, and later in life, I started meeting up and coming celebrities. So people who wanted to be artists or actresses or models. And one of the things that this whole experience has taught me is to be humble, because one day you could have it all and tomorrow you could have nothing. So I try to instill these qualities in the people that I work with. And the entertainment industry is so fickle. One day you're so exciting, and then the next day a new up and coming person comes along. And I wanted longevity clients. So I started looking at putting these little elements into helping SMMEs. And, if somebody really has a niche, just to help them mold their business and work on their personal brand. So I've broken a little bit away from the celebrity entertainment world to more of the corporate type of industry.
Okay, and I mean, is there like maybe one or two moments from working with celebrities that were like, just what was a highlight maybe, and then what was a big lesson possibly from working? You don't have to name anybody. Let's just keep it anonymous to be innocent. But any like moment from working with any one of them that sort of stood out, and then something that you learned also maybe while you did that.
I think last year, the whole year, I worked on an international modeling campaign, and we had, I think it was 11 models. There were 15, and then we narrowed it down to 11 models. And the nice thing that came out of that was that people said to me they never ever thought that disabled people would want to be on runways and do commercials and, all that glamorousness. And it was really beautiful people. So it really broke that whole stereotype that whatever you want to do, you can do. If you have a talent, you don't have to sit behind a desk and work corporate 9 to 5. Really use your skills and enjoy what you do. I think if you follow your passion and you learn how to monetize that, then you can, the sky's the limit for them. So breaking that stereotype meant the world to me. And I think that's one of the most that's probably the thing that will stand out the most to me.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think I heard you say somewhere that, if you take the disability away, and are you doing what you love, or what would you do if that disability, if you're not doing that, there's a problem. So,
Yes.
so talk me a little bit through that, because that's a very powerful, I mean, explain that a little bit more, because, it's just saying that is one thing. I had to think about this a couple of times after I heard you say that. So yeah, I mean, what do you mean? Like, if you take the disability away, what are you passionate about? What would you do? And are you doing that? And if you're not, then there's a problem. So yeah, talk us through that.
So when I accepted that position in government, I left what I was so crazy and passionate about. I had my own conditioner for my hair, and we were planning this whole perfume range. And then I chose something very serious that would affect the whole of South Africa who is disabled. And many people think, Bernadette might need an accessible building or lifts and ramps, but you don't realize that you as an able-bodied person can be knocked over. You could hurt your ankle. You get older, and the things that you take for granted on a daily basis is not going to be there for the rest of your life. So I really wanted to be part of this whole universal design and innovative city, and I've done that because I'm disabled. So I feel that over the last, I think it's the last 10 years or 13 years, I've really given my life to the whole disability sector and focused on all of that. And then this year I made the decision, okay, I'm going to do what makes me happy and excited. So I'm launching finally, from 2003, I'm finally going to be launching my perfume range and doing what I would be doing if I was not disabled.
That's such a, is that a mindset, to have, do you need a specific mindset? Is it, how do you, I mean, or is it as simple as, listen, I just like, if you wanted, if you said you weren't disabled and you were going to be a professional tennis player, for example, obviously there's some challenges depending on what it is, but there's lots of people who are doing some of that. So it does depend on that. But apart from doing sports and physical stuff, I mean, it's really like you can do anything else. And I think were you not involved in the what is it called, the Gautrain development?
Yeah.
Did you have any input in there?
Yeah, well, not like to the extent where I built
They
the
pay you
house,
lots.
but yeah, but I did spend some time with Bombella, and we done a few media interviews where we got individuals from the SABC and government, the transport departments, and we would do fun activities and take the whole camera crew and film everything and document where the problems were. So I did bring to the attention of Bombella what type of things needs improvement on. So I don't know if you saw the on the Gautrain there's tiles, and I think towards the platform there's little bubble tiles. So that, for instance, is used for people who are visually impaired for the guide stick, and the dogs, the guide dogs that walk along, they feel those little knobs, and then they know, okay, I can't go towards the edge of the. So I learned a lot, and it's quite interesting to see how these things are developed and how it rolls out. And the smallest thing that you take for granted has such a big impact on somebody else's day-to-day living.
Mm. Yeah, we don't always think about those little things, and
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Fability. Do I say that as it Fability? How do you pronounce the business's name?
Yeah, fability, fability.
Fability. So did I get it right?
Fabulous.
Like fabulous ability. Yeah.
You
I sort
did.
of, I deduced from, yeah, I thought like that. It should be somewhere there. But yeah, but what is it that you do in this business? Because obviously after government, you started this, you worked with celebrities, and then you sort of branched out and started doing some other things. So what is Fability all about, and what is it that you do there?
So Fability has four sections, four divisions. There's the marketing and events, and this I do completely on my own because it's where my skills are. And then I have the recruitment section. So a company would come to me and they would look for a high potential individual to become a director or a senior manager, and we would then identify the disability that is okay for the workplace, like a wheelchair or whatever the building can cater to, person who is blind or deaf. And then I have the business rescue. So the nice thing, how I formed the business rescue was through the recruitment. Sometimes you have someone that's looking for a job over the last 3 years, and they just can't find the right suitable job or the job that is benchmarked for their salary. And I would look at this profile and sit with them and do assessments to see if they have that entrepreneur skill to start a business, if it's a niche industry. And then with the business development side, we would try and just help put the whole start up the company, get them the right clients, and so forth. And then the last entity is the online shop, and that's where I do all the glamorous and fun little things.
Yeah, nice. So I guess the event stuff came to a screeching halt, thanks to our little virus, uh, which is so a lot of these things are like things are going well, and it's really, and there's these challenges and this kind of thing. So the question I want to get to, I mean, you've been pushing through everything and just moving forward and focusing on what you want to do and a positive mindset and all of that. And you can gather that, I've listened to some of your other interviews and that. So you can gather that this is the way that you always are. I'm pretty sure that at home sometimes you also get your down days because you're human, so we all go through that kind of thing. But this whole positive mindset and what you choose to focus on, is it like the way you were brought up from a like when you were a child? Is it a choice? Were you born with that kind of positivity and that strong mindset? What do you think is it, that sort of makes you focus on what you want and not on what you don't have and can't have?
Many people ask me, how do I stay so optimistic and excited about life? And I've tried to be depressed. I'm like, okay, come on, something's got to give. Let me just be miserable. But I find that a miserable hour or 10 minutes is the worst waste of time ever. Worrying is such a waste of your intelligence and what you should be doing with life. So when I do feel those down moments, I'm like, okay, right, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this problem? And and I always look for the solution in a problem, whether it's chatting to friends or if they feel down about something, they're not happy in a career, immediately my mind just comes to, okay, have you tried this and have you tried that? So I have tried to be, a little bit, let me just assess my whole life uh, but yeah, I just keep optimistic and stay happy.
Yeah. So, I fully believe it starts with it's a choice. It's
Yeah.
actual a choice that you make every single day, and sometimes we've got to remind ourselves of that choice. But most often, because life happens, like it's you choose to focus. What do you focus on, and that does multiply sort of or magnify. I think how you experience something. So if you choose to focus on the positive things, you have a much better experience. If you if you focus on the negative things, you'll have a much worse experience.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff. So it's really amazing to hear these kind of things. As obviously we're celebrating Women's Month, and we are sort of showcasing women on the show, and just letting women share their story and their journey and all of that. So apart from the disability side, that obviously is a challenge with moving around and getting to places, and for some people finding proper jobs and that kind of stuff. Have you ever, as a woman as well, felt that you were challenged? There were additional challenges over and above that, or like what was it like, just building that career initially before you decided to go into business for yourself?
Yeah, I think a lot of women, there is a lot of competition, and women can probably get a bit catty with each other. So I've actually worked very well with men, and most of my best friends are male. And, just proving yourself to a lady and, breaking that whole, listen, we're not in this to compete with each other. And you look at these pageant industries, it's so common. And people say, no, life is not about competition. But you constantly see this, especially amongst women. So with the Women's Month, I always try to put the message across that, a flower does not worry what the flower next to it is doing. They all just bloom. And that's pretty much the message that I would like to, keep going and stop with the cattiness. And we all in this together. There's enough sunshine for everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I even said this yesterday in the episode. I don't know what your view, why this is, because it's not purely like just a competition thing. I think what drives that competition is because the opportunities were less in the past. But that's definitely changing. I'm listening to everybody that I'm talking to, and it's definitely changing. There are more opportunities. There are more things available, and it's whether you're a man or a woman is becoming less important as time goes on, as we talk about this more and more and more. So, so do you think it was just a factor of that, or and do you think that sometimes we still think that we got to compete for things? I mean, whether you're a man or a woman these days, I think there's really a lot of competition. Like, okay, so some people may have to fight for a job because of other things. Some may, now this woman needs to be better than that one, and more beautiful and more quirky and more whatever. And it's really it becomes a thing. And so what you're saying is there is enough sunshine to go around. And my problem is that often I think we think that, and I've said this many times before as well, is that. Maybe I think that Bernadette is going to replace me, so she's a woman, I'm a man, and she's got this, in terms of some other rules and regulations, maybe you've got now a head over me, or you've got a bit of a up on me, to say, well, okay, so she's going to replace me. And I think if we think that way, it is the wrong way to think. It is not about somebody replacing someone else. There isn't only so many seats on the bus. There are many buses. We need more buses. So, and then we need people to get onto the bus. That is really what we need to do. And I think that's also a message that we should start to get out, is that this is about growing the proverbial pie, and not about, giving my slice to you, because that is why people are in competition, and that's why they're fighting, and that's why they try and just protect what they've got. And I think it's not the best way of looking at this. How do you feel about that, Bernadette?
Yeah, it's that's true what you mentioned, and as you were chatting about that, I think about all the, the struggle constantly. As a person with a disability, I have to prove myself 10 times more in an interview, or if I apply for a tender. It's not, oh, okay, your company is competent to handle this. Is Bernadette not going to get too stressed with the job load? Or, is she physically able to roll out with certain items? But we forget sometimes that the whole world is digitizing, and soon we're going to have to be competing with robots for our jobs. There's so many jobs that are becoming redundant because of technology. So if we break this whole competition thing and seeing each other as a threat and work together, then it just makes life so much easier. And yeah.
Yeah, no. And I see there's a lot more talk starting to go around about this whole technology and human behavior kind of to work together. Let the technology focus on certain things and let the humans focus on certain things. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think as we go through that, I don't think it was initially maybe the thought, I don't know what people are that are designing and creating technology, what they think about and how they go about and what their mission and their vision and their plans are. But initially, if we are clever about it today, we will create an ecosystem where these two actually work hand in hand. But it does mean that a lot of us will have to reskill. And I've told the story once before. I went to Alexander Forbes one day, and I got to the reception, booked in. Everything was digitized. So from the previous time, I was still writing in a book, and there was a lady taking my picture and all that. I said I charged for the picture, but she didn't laugh at that. So we eventually got booked in, and then you go through. This time when I got there, everything was digital, and I had to book myself in. So I had to take my own picture, my own thing, and everything happened. And then I went through, and then there was a lady on the other side of the turnstile that met me there, and she took me through to the meeting room. And I said to her, "Wow, this is amazing." And then her response to that was that, "Yeah, but she's worried about her job. How long is she still going to have a job?" I said, "Well, the one thing that you do have is you have time to reskill and to learn something new that will be valuable, because if it's just booking people in and out, technology can do that." So that's also the frame of mind that we got to get into, this growth mindset, which I think is not just having a positive mindset, it's having a growth mindset, being able to expand your world all the time and be willing to go through that pain. Is that something that you subscribe to, like a growth mindset? Do you feel like, because I think you said earlier you like putting yourself in challenging situations and all of that. So is that something, and how do you do it? I mean, it's easy to say, Bernadette, you must have a growth mindset. But how do you actually do it? How do you go about putting yourself in those challenging situations?
Well, it's great when you surround yourself with super intelligent people to constantly teach you. And I always think to myself, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. So, and the nice thing is, with the more people that come along that work with you, that are skilled and efficient in certain things, it makes your life easier, and it allows you to focus on, like you mentioned, not just signing in people. Maybe she has skills that she didn't even know that she could apply in her daily life. And the sad thing is that the unemployment rate is growing so rapidly. I think we're sitting on 30% of South Africa that is currently unemployed. And if you don't have that knack, I've been reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, lately. And the thing that I take away, the poor dad is the PhD, the one that works 9 to 5. If you take away that job, what is it that you're going to do that's still going to keep you sustainable and just live your daily life? And the sad thing is that we depend so much on our careers that it becomes the only thing that can get us by. And we kind of brush aside these skills and really dynamic personality traits that we have. And that's something that I firmly believe in, also running side hustles while you work for a company, because your full-time job could be gone tomorrow. And what is it that you fell back on? What is your passion and your skill set?
Yeah. Um, so I mean, let's get a little bit onto the entrepreneur side of this, all right? Because you worked for government and then you sort of start your own business. So I guess you were always like sort of entrepreneurial at heart, and you wanted to go more into do your own thing, which many of us do. Just one comment before I go there is that, during this time on LinkedIn specifically, I saw so many people looking for jobs, and then they like bookkeepers or accountants or people who's got skill. And then I always wonder by myself, like, you're posting every single day about how hard it is to get a job. Why has it never crossed their mind to start their own thing? So is it just that they don't go there because they want that security security in a job? Or is it just a case of it's just like these blinders on and they're so used to like, that's what I do? Or do you think that those people are genuinely not like, they're not entrepreneurial, or I don't know. What is it that doesn't make people think about starting their own thing?
Well, it's very difficult to start up a company, and if you don't have that entrepreneurial drive in you, you're constantly going to want a boss that will pay your salary and your provident fund and medical aid and everything. So just the thought of not having that, and I always thought to myself, if things don't work out with Fability, I'll just go back to a job. And now it's becoming, my mind is shifting that there is not going to be a job that I can go back to. So what are you going to do to make Fability that sustainable, company that that can pay for all of these benefits that you do get in the corporate world? And it's a daunting and scary thing because you don't rest. I work 24 hours a day sometimes, and weekends I'm constantly busy with, especially if there's projects and deadlines. And when you run a company, you don't have those massive support teams like HR and IT. So you really have to do everything on your own. And I think that's what scares people. But, I couldn't say that they should leave their job or should focus on starting a company, because everyone has their own preference. But maybe give it a chance. You never know. You could be making more money than what you would an annual salary.
Yeah. And I'm just like, if you don't get a job, like you're unemployed for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So, yeah, I would definitely not advise anybody to just like resign and go start that job that or that business that you're good. Don't do that. Okay, trust me. I resigned like overnight, and it was a hard move. But anyway, so well, we are 7 years later. I'm still here, so luckily it's we're okay. So let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial side of it. I know you also do a lot of brand management. And with that goes personal branding. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but specifically focused on women, because like yesterday we spoke about it. I think even on Friday a little bit, it did come out that women need to position themselves to be stronger, to be more skilled. They've got to take it to the next level if they want to say compete, or if they want to stand out rather. And just from a personal branding point of view, what are the things that you think that's a do and a not to do? What should they do and what shouldn't they do? And what is the best way to build that personal brand? And let's just take one step back. Sorry, sometimes I run ahead of myself. Is personal branding actually in your view, important? Because there's also this debate about, is personal brand really worth anything? And then other people say it's everything. What is your view on that?
Yeah. Well, I see personal branding. A butterfly never really sees how beautiful its wings are. And to me, people are like that. So some of the guys that I sit with their CVs, I start pinpointing these really niche skills that they have, and I tell them, did you know that you could do this? And when I tell them the value of, per hour, how much they could be charging, to see them realizing the beauty of, their butterfly wings is just amazing. And the personal branding, you really need to sit with, someone exceptional to allow you to see what unique skills you have. And once you put that all onto a biography and have it loaded on your LinkedIn profile, you start to gain that confidence where, okay, I can charge for this and I know my worth. So it's so important to have your own personal brand aside from the company that you are. I know, sometimes it does link your personal and your company brand is one thing, but to know your own personal self-value and your worth makes it so much more easier to charge and to have the confidence to know how to roll out with those skills when you do land these clients.
Yeah. And what would you say is the best way to go about this as a female today? What are maybe 2 or 3 things that they should focus on when they build their personal brand? What are the different ways of building your personal brand? Because there's anything from speaking right through to, just networking. So there's different ways, but in your view, what are the maybe 2 or 3 things that women can focus on to build their personal brand?
It's usually the why you started, the big why. I started Fability to get involved in the recruitment side of things, and then I started doing the events and the celebrity management. And then one day, those things are all fun, but it's so scattered, and you should have laser focus. You can do everything, but you can't do everything at once. So when I really sat down and said, what is the direction and where is it that I need to be in that really generates the greatest amount of income to sustain the company, I went back to the first thing that I had laid out. And there's a reason why you start off with something. It's because that is the calling and that is your passion. So when you do personal branding and when you start your company, look at all the elements and try everything. And you will always go back to that why and take it from there and really just, polish up on that to make it your core function for the company or your brand.
And so is there any, is social media the way to do it? Is that the primary sort of go-to? Would you suggest? What alternatives are there?
With personal branding, you have to speak about the things constantly that you want to be known for. So I wouldn't advise someone to be very scattered, especially through social media, because there's one thing that will always come to the mind of the person reading your biography, or your profile, or asking you to probably sign up for the next tender service provider at the company. And if you're constantly speaking about something that is completely irrelevant to the brand, that might start sticking with you. So be very structured when you do, especially by the things that you share on LinkedIn, and because it's kind of like a preview to the movie that you're going to watch. The person reading those little inserts that you're constantly sharing is getting a preview into your personality and what your brand is. So if you're not structured and you're not aligned with what you want to do, it's going to cause confusion on how the person can utilize your services.
Yeah, and that's actually a very important point because again, there's this for and against that I find that a lot of people say share your story. Other people say it's not about your story; it's about what's in it for your client or your ideal client. So it's always this, and it's guess that's like the yin and the yang and the black and the white and the blue and the red. It's like always these opposite kind of things that you there will always be somebody fighting for the other side. It's almost like that picture where I don't know if you saw this, where the one person stands on this side and says it's a 6, and then the other person stands on the other side and says it's a 9, because it's a question of perspective. But it's what is your view just maybe around that? So are you very pro that one should share your own story and your own journey?
Yeah, you can share. People need to know who you are, because one of the most important things I learned through marketing and brand management is that people sometimes don't work with the company, they work with people. So I've left a service provider many times because the person has resigned and moved on to another company. And sometimes, even if that company is charging me more than what the old company is charged there or did charge, I would kind of stick with that person because we've built the trust. I know their work ethic, and I know that I'm going to get value for money. So, if people resonate with you and your story and how trustworthy you are and your work ethic. And once you have all of those fundamentals in place and you've really got a good track record on, you follow through with things, I don't think that, you would have a problem with gaining more clients and the trust of the people that you are working with.
Then before all of this COVID stuff, you did a lot of speaking, right? Were you
Yeah.
on stage a lot? And did you get to speak to groups of people?
I was. It's not one of my favorite things, but yeah.
No, no kidding. You look so natural and just so, like that's your thing. But do you often have women coming to you afterwards and saying, well, I'm inspired by what you've done. Like, what advice have you got for me? I want to start a business, or I did start my business, or we've been going for a while, but we're going through tough times. What does that happen? Like after, do other women and other people in general come to you for like business advice as well?
Yeah, well, we must give a shout out to Razan. I think I met her it was about a year ago. I think it was last year during Women's Month that I done a talk. And I'm flattered and so excited that you remembered me to put me forward for your show. So, there's certain things about people when they do public talk. Sometimes it's not about the work, but it's a personal little story that really resonated with you, or some just one sentence that the person said that you will carry that bit of advice for the rest of your life. And that's the exciting part with as much as I don't enjoy the public speaking, when I hear the comments afterwards, or someone just writing, because of you and your inspiring story, I was going through quite a horrible phase in my life, and they didn't see any way out of that situation. And then when they saw me, they realized that there's so much more to life. And a situation it's like a season. It comes and it goes, but life is 10% of how you there's a saying, 90% of what happens to you and 10% of what how you react to it. And I firmly believe in that, and I live by that.
Yeah. Is there, like, I saw Razan ask the question, so let me bring that up on the screen, then we can maybe deal with that, because I was going to sort of ask you something in that line as well, but let's use Razan. She says, what is your go-to advice for entrepreneurs? Is that it? So it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. Or what is your go-to advice for entrepreneurs?
You have to believe in your product and your service, because when you start having doubt, that's when every day is a bit difficult. I sometimes get a client and a lot of money and I'm so excited and I start planning my vacation and everything. And then the person says, sorry, the budget has been, withdrawn. Doesn't mean I'm going to shut down my company and, now I need to go and dust off my CV, which I've done many times, thinking, this is the end of my company. Just constantly believe in the brand, and sometimes someone will say no to it's a good opportunity, and tomorrow a great opportunity will approach itself. So just constantly, when you don't have the business coming in, focus on the brand, do your social media. Those are kind of my off days. And then when you do have the companies, give it your all. Just focus 100% on what you're doing and providing.
Yeah. Awesome. She also alludes to your awards, which I did put in the description and all of that. But let's talk a little bit about that, because you said you are always reminded to stay humble. So obviously you're not going to talk about it unless I ask you about it. So but what has been one of some of the awards that you have won or received? Sometimes we don't win these things. That's why it's an award. It's like, it's not a competition. You are recognized for great work that you're doing, possibly. But which one of those awards maybe then stand out for you? And what was that award about?
I think in 2017, when I was, they phoned me up and they said, we're hosting the Tributes Awards and the Excellence Awards. And I thought in my mind, I'm already, okay, we need to look at this venue and everything, because I'm an event planner as well. And they said, Bernadette, we're not phoning you to plan the event. We're phoning you because you've been nominated for the Entrepreneur of the Year award. And I played around with this word in my biography, and I used to take it off and put it back, and I'm like, okay, entrepreneur is such a big word, and it seemed at the time everyone was calling themselves an entrepreneur. So when I won that, I was just really flabbergasted and really excited that I'm doing something, and South Africa has seen the value, and they acknowledging me for being an entrepreneur. And it was a very exciting moment. And then I was mentioned in one of Forbes executive search firms, Forbes leading executive search firm, lose the resume, land the job, because I speak a lot about mistakes that we make in interview processes, and when you want that promotion. And the book acknowledged all of the mistakes and how you go past those mistakes and really become an impressionable person. You take away all the accolades and the awards and everything. Why is it that this person should be working for my company? And, I nailed it. So I got acknowledged in that regard for the recruitment side as well. And, so the little things that I'm passionate about, I'm very fortunate and humble to say that I've been awarded for those.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I think it's so much more rewarding when the goal is not to win the award. The goal is to do significant work and work that's going to make a difference and have an impact, and then you get that award. I mean, that must be like the cherry on top. It's different from I want to be Entrepreneur of the Year and that's your only focus. I think there's a difference, right? You are so humble. I can see it's. Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot. So I just want to show some of the comments here quickly. So Kobus said, excellent, Bernadette, and well done on your energy and positive outlook. Thank you, Kobus. And then Floyd says, great work you're doing, Bernadette. I'm disabled myself, and I know it can be hard keeping a positive mindset through the trials we face daily. Yes. So, it's obviously some of the challenges in that. And I guess, even it's like anything in life, even if you may have a similar or the same disability as someone else, your experience can be completely different. Your challenges can be completely different. And that's the one thing, don't think you've got one friend who's in a wheelchair. Now you understand what it is like, because it is different for every single person. And that's that. And then Siba says, what an inspiring story of looking beyond the disability and limitations. You are such a powerhouse, Bernadette. It's so important for women to stop competing and rather focus on lifting as we rise. Yeah, I think they say a lifting tide lifts all the boats, so that's what we need to focus on. So that's awesome. Thank you very much, Siba. I don't know if you want to say anything to Siba, Bernadette.
Hi, Siba. I'm a fan. I saw Siba on Friday, like totally a fan of the work that she's doing.
Awesome.
So,
And then
thank
obviously
you.
Razan, we did answer those questions and we dealt with that, but thank you very much. Bernadette, from my side, thank you very much. I think it was a very inspiring and a very insightful conversation for me. I really enjoyed it. I smiled most of the time, which is amazing. I have cried on some of the episodes before, so luckily I didn't cry today. So thank you for bringing the sunshine and just for everything you do to bring this awareness. I don't think it's easy, to just, it's one thing to say you become an activist. To be an activist is quite a different story. So from my side, well done. Thank you to Razan again for putting me in touch with you. And I wish you a fantastic rest of the year. We can still make 2020 work for us, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, just from me, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Cool stuff. All right, everybody. I'll be back on Friday with Jay Naidu. So please come and join us live 3 p.m. and I'll see you there. Thank you very much. Have a good one.